So I felt really, really like mid-20s lost in
Yeah.
life.
So you had your crying on the floor in the bathroom
Yes.
kind of moment. What
Yes.
the fuck is going on sort of thing. Welcome back to Friends of Sublime, the podcast where we dive into the stories, the struggles, and the breakthroughs behind creative lives. Today's guest is Julie Ruiz, an amazing, amazing multidimensional creator, weaving sound, consciousness, and the strategy into new places for leading and creating. Her journey began through deep inner exploration, studying patterns that moves through us and how frequency, rhythm, and awareness shape the way we build, relate, and grow. We will mention in the episode through Middle Pillar Sound, which was a collective born in London 2019 with her cosmic partner Mika Lamdan. Julie creates sonic journeys that she curates, which bridges astrology, movement, and reflection. Their monthly show on Dublab LA invites listeners into deep, deep, deep listening, dance, release, and exploring how vibration becomes the language of the soul. Julie is a self-projected projector, and she's the authority of F35. Julie channels all of this amazingness into her work as a quantum business consultant and strategic coach for conscious founders and creative entrepreneurs. Through her company, Tepi Consulting, she helps visionary leaders bring clarity and coherence to growth, aligning people, purpose, and processes through conscious recruitment, team design, and systems that keep creativity alive as a business evolves with intention. Let's dive into the episode. Thank you, Julie, for coming on Friends of Sublime podcast. I am so excited for the rest of the world to see you and hear about your story, your creative journey, your reflective experiences that you've had, and everything in between, because it's an amazing life that you are living. And
Thank
so thank
you for
you.
such amazing words. Appreciate you. Thank you for inviting me. Honestly, as a projector, this felt like the most amazing invitation. So thank you for extending that. Yeah, yalla, let's start.
So I thought we should start at the beginning. So if you wanted to just share with us your upbringing, where did you grow up? What was kind of your family environment? How has this shaped you as a creative and as a
Yeah.
seeker, I would say?
So I was born and raised in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, down south, the globe. So I would say my upbringing was a little bit like mixed of things going on. I mean, it's a country that, has experienced crisis for since forever. It's almost a century of financial crisis. So it's been quite the environment to grow up, let's say. My parents, they are amazing people. They are very specific. For the ones that know human design, basically my mom is a projector and my dad is a manifestor. And I have a sibling, a sister that is a manifestor, and I am a projector. So we were a very specific kind of household. Whether they knew this or not, it was still like this thing of my dad taking loads of naps and things like that. This kind of thing. My mom being like that friend.
And you're like, it's us, you
Yeah,
should
no,
take
I
the
mean, he's a
naps.
manifestor. He also needs the naps. And my mom also being this person that was super interested in psychology as a projector. Like, you want to help and guide and listen and da. So I grew up with a lot of this, like, stop projecting this on me. Like, this kind of language, which is kind of funny. But I think that really helped me, like my mom always said that I would be like an amazing psychologist. She saw that in me. I mean, projector and projector kind of vibe. And I was just trying to tell her, like, I just don't like the institutions. I don't want to study Freud. I don't want to do this like that way. I didn't feel like that was my path. They didn't really understand what I was trying to say in terms of what I wanted to become, because it was pretty much outside of the box. But any millennial is outside of the box in a way. Anyways, so they were really amazing people.
Yeah.
They did the best that they could in that kind of environment where everything was really harsh. They didn't want to impose any religions onto me, but they wanted me to speak like fluent English. So they definitely decided, okay, a British school is going to be the best option for her, and my sister too. And that's how I started to get programmed into the whole British culture at a young age.
It was this very specific British school
Yeah,
as
I
well.
mean,
Please share with
it's
us.
very common in Buenos Aires. We have these British schools. At the same time, it's not the most common because it's private school. So it's, not everyone can afford it, especially knowing that it's a country with a lot of crises. My parents were very hardworking people, not necessarily like mid class, let's say, from Argentina, but they were really hardworking people, so they could afford it with their, just pushing it. And they were in this school. It was morning time. It was doing Spanish lessons and everything. And then like afternoon was English, right? So we would still have biología and biology, like this kind of, thing. And we would have like these holidays. We would celebrate some British holidays, very Scottish vibes with like the pipes and all of these things. Yeah. And we would have
With the
houses
bagpipes.
and, each alumni was like in one of those houses. There was 3 houses, very Harry Potter vibes. And we would compete with each houses. Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun.
I love Harry Potter.
Harry...
And to the point of even like developing as well, like a fans club when I was like 11, 10 or something like that with 2 other friends. And we're producing since then. I feel like my upbringing had a lot of creativity. It had a lot of creativity and a lot of space to actually produce. And with produce, I mean like create and produce. Create and produce.
Nice.
I was having piano lessons. I was also doing these ventures, these little thingies of like, okay, the Harry Potter fans club, Snitch Club. And I would be the vice president and I would have the help of my mom to do the fairs where everyone would just join us. Like all of the people that was part of that club, would come and like dress up as in Harry Potter costumes and we would play games and things like that.
Oh my God, I would have been your friend already from then.
100%.
I would have been there with you. I love this one. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so fun. And I know that you Snitch Club all the way. Regarding things like music, so you played the piano, or you did at least. You took classes when you were at that age, because music has been a very big part of your life. I'd love to share a bit more about your parents. Like your dad, he's a musician, am I right? And so you had some musical
100%.
influences from him.
He's super into music. My mom as well, but my mom is more like the dancer. She loves to dance. And my dad is the one that loves to sing and play. He plays the guitar. He plays a little bit of piano, but mainly guitar is his thing. And so I grew up with him like singing songs when we were to bed, with my sister, or even like reading Harry Potter. That was a thing that we used to do with my dad at night. Just before going to bed, like we would read one chapter one night me, another night my dad, another night my sister, and like that, It was really amazing. I'm not gonna lie. He kind of like influenced me a lot. Like basically they put me into these piano lessons. It was particular piano lessons. So the teacher Matías, he would come to our house and we would start learning piano since we were like 6. From 6 to like 12, I think I stopped at 12. It was already too much. Speaking again about the whole projector life, like my parents, they didn't really have access to this information. And so they really kind of like built up my calendar very generator-like. So it was full on. And at some point, it was just really like, I felt that I was disrespecting Matías, my teacher, because he was like, dude, I'm just like practicing when you come here. I just don't have time to practice even, by myself. And that's when I decided it was time for me to break this off, because it didn't make any sense anymore. Kind of sad, because I feel like, we could have managed in other ways, if anything. But well, that's what happened there. And then
Did you play other instruments, or how did your musical journey continue?
When I was like 19, I think, or 20, something like that, I started guitar lessons. So this is the whole thing. So I finished high school, but I didn't like finish it. Like I also had like 2 matters there, like subjects there that I didn't really finish. My parents were like, please finish that. I was like, oh, like now I'm free. Let me be. And I was like, I really want to just like study myself, which they didn't really get. They were concerned. They were also supportive, but they were also concerned. I even like lied to them in the beginning, because I didn't even know how to say this to them without having all of this like prejudice on like what I was trying to create for my life. And once I'm finally stepping into that like freedom of my own time, like not having to go to school and like that, just finish. I kind of lied to them. That was horrible. It was a horrible episode. where I was like, yeah, okay, I can do like fashion production studies, and they were paying for that private university, but in the end it just didn't work for me, and I started like skipping school, like skipping uni. It was horrible. And then at some point it was like, everything came to light. They found out it was terrible. And then I said like, look, I really need to be with myself, study myself. I don't know. Like, and that's when I actually started reading a lot of metaphysics, getting into psychedelics, taking a lot of pictures in parties. I loved cool hunting. And I also love to go to Buenos Aires Fashion Week and take some pictures, being the backstage, just network and, maybe sell some of those pictures to some of like these digital magazines in Chile or like, I don't know, just was doing my own thing, not necessarily like, not necessarily
Wow.
doing a lot of
Yeah.
money, but it was more like, I just need to explore this, At that point, my dad was like, okay,
Yes.
what about if you take, like photography classes? What about if you take guitar classes? Like I was like, cool, yeah, let's do this. And I started studying photography, which is also one of my passions. But this was with like a one-on-one with this character. He's an amazing photographer, Matías Maroevic. He is this photographer, Argentinian,
Argentinian?
and he's this one person that will give you like Carlos Castaneda and be
Yeah.
like, if you don't understand that this is photography, then you don't get photography. And he was like, okay, enseñanzas de Don Juan, the teachings of Don Juan. And like, I really loved these kind of classes. It was totally like avant-garde in a way, like out of the box. And it was basically analogic photography, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds very
it was
out of the box.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm still in contact with him. Like, he's an amazing dear friend. And then,
Well, we're gonna link him in the
yes.
show notes to so other people can see his work as well.
Yes,
That
yes,
sounds
yes,
so
yes.
cool.
He's one of
Yeah.
those, like, I mean, if you're into photography and you understand like Wolfgang Tillman's kind of vibe, then this is the vibe. Yes,
I love
this is
his
the
vibe.
vibe, for him.
Okay, well, this is my vibe. So
Explore.
I'm gonna dive into this.
Um,
But that's so cool. So you studied with him and you started guitar
yes.
lessons because I know you
Yes.
also started a
And
band.
it's all
So
connected. It's all
let's talk about this
connected because
band.
like I started my guitar lessons. I went to this class with this guy. Oh, I can't remember his name, but like a super cute, sweet teacher. I said to him, like, look, I want to be able to make my own music and I want to start an all-girl band. That's kind of like my objective. I was clear about that. And I said to him, like, can you teach me how to play these specific songs? Because this is the vibe that I want to get inspired from. So instead of just going through like, okay, this is this chord, da 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 da, like I wanted to already like learn them by like learning these covers, no? He was like, okay, I don't teach this way, but let's try
Yeah.
it. And so we started doing that. And then at some point I was already like, playing these covers. I would go and visit my friend Mailen, that she was working at this gallery where my photography teacher, I met him there thanks to these encounters. He was also one of the co-founders of that gallery. It was a contemporary art gallery. Him and his partner at the time, all in
In
Buenos
Buenos
Aires.
Aires?
And she was working there,
Yeah.
this friend of mine, Mailen.
Yeah.
And I would go see her after my guitar lessons, and I would have my guitar with me. And at some point, Matías, this a teacher of mine later on in photography, he was like, are you just taking that guitar out for a ride, or are you actually going to sing something and play something for us at some point? And I was like,
Well, that was your invitation,
exactly.
Julie. That was your
And I was like,
invitation.
well, I'm just starting,
Yeah.
I just know a few covers. I'm just like literally exploring this. He was like, so what? Why don't you and Mailen, because Mailen also loves to sing and she was also doing some guitar lessons here and there. So why don't you and Mailen like come up with something, and then with this, for this exhibition that I'm having at my house, a really cool exhibition with like students from Guillermo Bueno, who is another amazing photographer from Buenos Aires, a very established one. So he was like, it was going to be like a very specific exhibition at his house in the suburbs of Buenos Aires, like super kind of punk vibes, and he was like, why don't you come and just play something for us? And we were like, okay, we're up for the challenge. And so we started like, playing these covers. We rehearsed, I think, twice before going there to play. And we were like, okay, and how are we going to be called? And back then, we were being called hipsters all the time. And so we were like, oh, why don't we just paint ourselves with some like bruises and stuff, and we just call ourselves Kilo hipsters, just for the sakes of just having fun. Kill all
Killer
hipsters. So we
hipsters.
was like, we were already bruised. Yeah.
Oh, kill
So
all
we're already
hipsters.
bruised. We're already attacked kind of vibe, In the end, we didn't do the bruises, but we kept the name, And so we presented ourselves like
Kill
that.
all
That's how we
hipsters.
started. We did these like few covers, Cat Power, Joy Division, kind of, covers. And people really loved it. People really loved it. It had our own flavor to it because we had like really amazing voices, but I was really new with the guitar, right? So it was like, okay, it's going to be very basic in the guitar, but we're going to focus on the vocals, right? Yeah. And people loved it.
And you were also you doing
us.
vocals?
And we loved to work with like arrangements, like vocal arrangements and things like that. It was really beautiful. And that's how we started, basically. At some point after that, people started inviting us to, why don't you come and play into this show? And like, why don't you come and play into this like radio? And why don't you come and da-da-da, And it was like, okay, cool. We started doing that. We started like, advancing with this like band project. And then at some point we were like, okay, let's figure out who are going to be like our drummer and our bass player, like we need more. And that's how we found, like the rest of the band, Vicky and Guillermina at that point, these two other girls. And so we started this sort of like riot girl meets pop kind of music. This was a long time ago. So imagine...
Yes. Doing covers.
We started
mostly,
like that,
right?
and then we started making our own music eventually. It kind of like escalated quickly too, because we were so like, yeah, let's bring this, let's do this, let's do that. So we were like really motivated.
It's escalated.
We were really motivating each other, Yeah.
I love this.
And that's how it started. And honestly, because of that, I started also putting my time into like, okay, how can we create like the visuals, the whole, like branding of the band, let's say, So I was doing... Gisha started with some like logos and things, and then I started developing all of the flyers and the banners. At that moment, remember, like we're talking about like 15 years ago. So it's like Facebook events were the thing. And so we were having like the banners for Facebook. We were having the flyers. We were posting everything. A friend of mine, Koku, like he would come to the rehearsals and he would bring like his amazing energy and like cameras, like analogic cameras, and taking pictures of all of us like rehearsing and da-da-da. It was very fun. It was a fun moment in life, let's say. And so we would have all of these...
Wow, no, honestly. Amazing.
And then just like producing, right? Like, okay, organizing the gigs, tours. At some point we started even going like, okay, let's do this tour in Uruguay, in Montevideo. Let's go to Mendoza. Let's go to Chile. Like we were working a lot.
Oh, wow.
Say. Yeah.
Wow.
But then... it's like this thing of like, okay, I want to be able to fund my creativity here. And so I started working in a marketing agency thanks to that. Yeah. I didn't really study marketing, but I had all of this knowledge on how to work with Facebook and also doing these graphics and also da-da-da. And so they were like, we need, young community managers to help us understand Facebook. These people didn't even understand it. And everything was pivoting there. Yeah,
they're like,
honestly.
how you make a post?
For me, it was ridiculous. I remember
it was the start of Facebook
for
as
digital marketing. Yeah, like I remember it felt ridiculous for me to sit there in meetings with important companies and having to give them reports on how many likes we had. Yeah. For me, it just felt like this was ridiculous, and they're paying me for this. Okay, fine, But it got me like to understand really like what
I mean, I think that's the fun part about it.
I guess. But it was just like, okay, this is how a marketing agency functions. This is how you organize everything. This is how you create the content properly, et cetera, et cetera. And that was my school, if anything. And for me, that was great because they were paying me to learn, to go deeper. Not enough, I would say, but they were definitely like paying me to go deeper.
I have to give a shout out to this because I would say as someone who's paid for university, realizing that I could easily have been an apprentice and having a small salary as an apprentice, not having a student loan in the end, I just don't believe that many professions needs to pay to learn. I think apprenticeships should come back. I'm such a big thing on that because I really believe that you shouldn't be losing money while essentially giving your,
100%.
energy to someone. So anyway, cool. That's very cool to hear. I actually didn't hear anyone go this path before. It sounds amazing. And so this was still in Buenos Aires. And then, because I
Yeah.
know you spent a lot of time in London,
Well,
when
then,
did you get to
I
London?
wanted to continue to pursue this kind of like music career. And with that objective in mind, I mean, I was already, as I told you, a little bit programmed into the whole, let's go to the UK from a young age. So I was determined to, like, okay, let's go to London. I knew already that I wanted to experience a life there.
Yeah, can I just ask this from this school upbringing situation? What did you think the UK and London was at that time before living there and just being going to this British school? Like, what was your subconscious ideas and your kind of, thoughts about this place?
I would say I romanticized it a lot. Like for me, it meant to be in a place where like you didn't have to struggle so much to achieve your creative desires. Because I mean, again, Buenos Aires and Argentina, it's such an environment that is very hostile for creatives and artists. You have to put a lot of efforts and you have to work so much and you have to almost like be in the hustle because the economy changes and shifts all the time. So you can't keep up and you're always in debt because that's the only way that you can actually afford a life there, like with credit cards and being in debt. So I would say that for me, it meant like I can be in a place where financially it seems to be more stable. And not only that, like the mentality and the culture. And I think it's still true, to be honest. Like they do tend, the mentality in London, at least, I don't want to speak for the whole of England, but in London, at least, I think there is a lot of interest in investing for talent, art, creativity, these kind of things that are a little bit overlooked in Buenos Aires, especially when you're just having like a very right-wing government. Forget about it. There's not going to be a lot of investment opportunities there, And so I felt that it could be like a great possible career path for me where I could not only just develop the musician side of me, but also keep on working with styling. I love to work with styling or photography or things like that. Like for me, that was also part of what I love to do. And I felt like there was an opportunity to make money out of that. Also marketing. I mean, it's one of the capitals of the world. So for marketing, definitely there was going to be more opportunities that would pay better. Than in Buenos Aires as well. So, I saw it as like an opportunity to grow and expand with a foundation of a more stable economy. That's what I would say it meant for me. And it did. It was in the end.
Yes.
But then, of course, London is very expensive. And then you're just like juggling between 3 to 4 jobs to afford a lifestyle that feels like that's the one that I want to have. I mean, you could always do less and just like leave a little bit with less of the things that I'm a Taurus. I love to have access to find things in life. So for me, that was not a possibility. So I kind of like hustled.
Yeah, you're also a projector.
Yeah.
It's part of it.
So I hustled.
Yeah. So can I just, for people who don't know the journey, you went from Buenos Aires and did you move to London based on the fact that you had a job already there, or you moved to say stay with a friend and look for work, or how was the path from Buenos Aires to London? Because that's a big one also for people often to
but
figure
no, it was
out,
chaotic.
Yeah, okay, tell us. Give us
I
the
just
details.
jumped, like universe hold me, bye. Like, I don't know. I had to quit the agency works in Buenos Aires because it was just like a lot of effort and time and a lot of extra hours that were not paid and and like honestly it was not even giving me like the amount of money for me to even save like some money to go to London. That was going to be super expensive. So I quit that job. I started working in a factory that makes like leather jackets. And because it was positioned in this place where like you have all of the embassies around, like there was a lot of clientele that was like international. And so they would even pay in euros or USD. And so it was easy because Argentina is a mess with that. There's like dollar blue, dollar classic. Like it's a mess. And so for you to actually save in foreign currency. It was the whole thing, Amore. I'm telling you, it's a specific background with a lot of challenges and blockages,
Wow.
So yeah, hence why like I decided I was gonna work here and they could actually like
Yes.
pay me in euros and USD like directly, and so I could actually like afford to save money.
At this time, just to give more details, at this time, you knew you wanted to go to London and you were living with
Yes.
your parents, or you were
No,
also
no, I
paying
was
rent
living with my
somewhere?
parents.
You were like, I'm going to live with my parents and
Yes,
save, or, because that's
exactly.
what I would have done. Yeah, living with and you were just like, you got the job that you realized you could save money that you can take to London because you knew you were
Yeah.
going to go to London.
Yes,
That was the goal,
100%.
just to
Yeah,
clarify here,
and
right?
I was
Okay,
in
perfect.
a relationship back then, and I have Italian citizenship, but he didn't have, like a European citizenship. This is way before Brexit, so imagine like it was still there. And
Exactly.
so in order for both of us to move there, we even got married so that then he could actually have the papers and we could go the both of us together.
What? I didn't
Yeah.
know you got married.
I was like 24, I got
I didn't know
married with
this.
like
Wow. Okay, so you've been
yeah, I got
married.
married
Wow.
like
Wow. And you got married for
I
his
mean,
sake.
our
That's
sake,
nice of
right? We
you.
wanted to do this together, So yeah, like basically, my mom brought like flowers. She was like, "Please, at least wear flowers," because
Nice.
I was like literally wearing all black and just like my New Balance. This is like it's me getting married, whatever. It's for the papers. Stop it. Like I don't want all of this emotionality. It was crazy. And then I had these flowers because my mom pushed it on me, But anyways, it was nice. It was a nice thing. And then we moved all the way over there finally, and we stayed there for like I think 6 months, something
Yeah.
like that. Then he had like a mental breakdown, and that was a lot to take in because we were by ourselves. And so that was also a heavy period of my life, let's say, where like suddenly I was having to support this situation by myself, and it was just a lot. We ended up like going to Madrid because for
Yeah.
his condition, it was not advisable to do like such a long trip to go back to Buenos Aires. So we went to Madrid, where his sister lived, and like we would have a bigger support net.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. We stayed there, I think, like 2 months. And then we went back to Buenos Aires. I mean, I asked this question to him about, like, what do
Yeah.
you want? Do you want to go back to London once he was more stable? Do you want to try it here in Madrid? Do you want to go back to Buenos
Yeah.
Aires? He wanted to go back to Buenos Aires. And at that moment, I wanted to invest in the relationship. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, fine, let's go back to Buenos Aires. Although I knew I wanted to go back to London. Big mistake, but nothing wrong with making the mistakes because
Yeah.
something beautiful
Yeah.
came along after that. I went back to Buenos Aires. I felt really lost because also my projects, the musical projects with the girls, they were already done and that was non-existent anymore. I was back again in my parents' house. I didn't have any money once again. 2 months after we came back, like we break up the relationship. So not even that was there as a project anymore. So I felt really, really like mid-20s lost in
Yeah.
life.
So you had your crying on the floor in the
Yes.
bathroom kind of moment.
Yes.
What the fuck is going on sort of thing. I mean, we had those a few times, I
Yes.
think, as projectors in our lives. I mean, probably everyone has had them. But okay, so you're mid-20s, you're like essentially feel like what the hell is going on?
So
And what do you do then?
these
Because
are
these
the
are the moments
moments.
that really
That
shifts
was such a
everything.
pivoting moment in my life, I felt like,
Yeah.
okay, I have nothing, but like, do you know
Yeah.
logotherapy? Because I started going to therapy with this person that specializes in logotherapy, which is like this, it's a type of
No, what is it?
therapy, psychotherapy, that basically goes
Yep.
and tackles into like the core of things, like, so for instance, it's like, okay, you lost everything, but what do you have? You have yourself, you have your health, you have your body, you have this experience, you have, like focusing on that core and working from there. I started
It's like a therapy about gratefulness.
kind of, I mean, I can't remember
Sounds
the
like
name of
gratitude
the
to
guy
me,
that developed
right?
this, but he was
Yeah.
basically one of these like prodigies that ended up being in the whole Holocaust. situation, and he lost everything there, and he was practicing logotherapy when he was in the camps,
Oh,
in the
wow.
concentration camps, with other people trying to help them out. So he developed this thing of you were ripped off of everything, like, so what else do you have
Wow.
to continue wanting to live and engage with this life? So I can't remember his name. Anyways, we'll search it up.
Well, maybe
later.
we'll find it and we can link it in the show notes because this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find it. So you went to this logo, and what was the outcome?
So it was really great. Also, this lady, she was also a Taurus. So I think, being a Taurus myself, we were speaking that like direct language that I really needed. And also it just like keeps on bringing you back. Logotherapy keeps on bringing you back to why you're here. Why are we treating here? And she really helped me. It was like a 5-year relationship that I was breaking up. So she really helped me to focus.
So you're in therapy with this amazing Taurus woman. And what's happening?
And she was like always dragging me into the core of why I went there, just trying to find the purpose of it all. It's about purpose with logotherapy, right? The logos, the core, the purpose, So it was pretty like straightforward, very direct, helping me to release as well. This relationship that was like a 5-year relationship, even though I was super young, it was still like a lot of things that we went through. And then that's when I decided to go back to London. In the meantime, in all of that chaos, what also rescued me was I started jogging. I started going out for jogs. And that was kind of like my therapy. Coming back to logotherapy, it was also part of this, like, okay, I have nothing, but I have this body, I have these legs, I have this skin, so I can feel the wind in my face. I was just being appreciative for all of the small little things that sometimes we take for granted. Not that they're small, they're so important, no? Health, body, everything. And I was just giving all of this appreciation to I think I lost like 10 kilos back then. I was always chubby. And then suddenly from going jogging, it was this like, I think I lost like 10 kilos. It was crazy. I was not even like counting because it was not about that. But suddenly I remember that.
Yeah, exactly.
There was this one time that I was weighing myself because of some like medical thing. And then suddenly I'm like, wow, yeah, I lost like almost 10 kilos. Like, it was just crazy.
Like, what?
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I was
can I
noticing,
just stop you at just a reflection?
Yeah.
A reflection of this. So the times in my life when I have held on to weight, even when I have been working out, and when I meant held on, I meant that there is an ideal weight for you, not in terms of image, but in terms of physical health, like true health, which is very different from what the number on the scale says, right? But what I then understood, and this was part of some of the COVID experiences that I had, meaning the nervous system experience. And so what I realized at that time, and maybe this is something that you were experiencing, because you weren't exercising to lose weight, you were exercising to gain appreciation for your existence. And therefore you probably got lighter, and I mean emotionally lighter, from the experience of moving your body. And so you weren't just shedding physical weight, you were shedding emotional weight. And therefore
100%.
it was a smooth journey in that sense of becoming, could that be
100%, 100%. Yes. And I was already like going through this journey of, I think I was at that point like eating only fish, but not meat. When you start getting into the, okay, I need to detox from a lot of things. So it was like no more weird sodas or anything like that. Like for some years already, I've been like going into that journey of like, how can I detox? How can I be better? Da, 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 da. I got bitten by a Rottweiler in my face. I remember in that year. It was just insane. Like, I only have like a few marks because thank God, but like it was just this like in here. And I remember that in order to not have the stitches open up again, because there was a 70% chance of infection when you close with stitches, something that is like
so you get bitten by this Rottweiler. So Julie, this Rottweiler that bit you, this is a random dog, or this is your, like, whose dog is this?
It was my parents' dog. She was like really young. She was a puppy, but she was already full on grown in her body. So she was already big, but she was still a puppy. I would say like a year and a half, something like that, maybe a bit less. The thing is, She was a new member of the family when I was still in Buenos Aires, but about to leave to London. And then I came back. Yeah, basically, you know, like the dog didn't recognize me as part of like the whole tribe, let's say, of the household. And my parents were not necessarily like the best at training or being with a Rottweiler. It's not a
They're
poodle, as
strong
we know.
dogs. Yeah, it's not a poodle.
Strong character. This episode where she ended up like biting me, trying to, you know, make her point on like who is more relevant here. Like you can't give me directions. Like she got mad because I was giving her directions to obey. Anyways, the long story short, I got these like, you know, stitches in my face.
Yes.
And like thank God nothing happened. Like it was just like, you know, stitches in my face. But when you close a dog bite with stitches, what happens
Yeah.
is you have a 70% chance of infection. So this is why usually people don't recommend to close a dog bite with stitches, although this was in my face. So it was like, I don't care. So there was this 70% chance that I would get infected and that they would have to reopen them and clean them. And it was a horrible thing to think about.
Process. Yeah.
So then I decided, okay, I'm going to figure out also like what am I eating that might also be part of the problem, because maybe I'm eating something that might feed the bacteria that are in my stitches. And so
Yes.
obviously taking care of it superficially, but then also taking care of it like internally. And that's when I had my first experience of not eating gluten, for instance. That was my first experience of not eating gluten. And that's when I realized, wow, I feel so energetic. Like I feel so energized. And I feel like so like, even though I was like literally having to feed myself with a spoon and have very like liquid or puree sort of format of food because like everything hurt. So
Man.
even though that was going on, at the same time, I was feeling like lighter and more energized. And I was like, wait a minute, am I actually having like intolerance to gluten? And I didn't know it because it was so naturalized, you know?
Yes, yes.
So these kind of explorations, you know, of things that are happening so that then you can explore other things. And
yes,
definitely
this
it's
is a
something.
good example of like something bad happening and then you're turning it into something good, right?
Yes. So definitely, you know, that point where I was like back in Buenos Aires for a year, training like that to kind of have that sort of therapy with myself, going to therapy for logotherapy, also changing and shifting a lot in my diet because of these
Yes.
experiences. And at the same time, working on this editorial project with a friend of mine, with Luis Juarez. He is the editor-in-chief of this amazing editorial called Balam magazine. And this is
Balam
something that,
magazine.
yeah,
We'll link
Balam, like the
this.
jaguar in
Oh,
Mayan.
yeah.
He is from Honduras, Luis, this creature friend of mine, Capricorn. And basically, he was also experiencing this thing. I met him in Buenos Aires when we were, you know, he was studying, I was working, I had with my bands, and then I moved to London with my ex. He moved to Chile. When he was in Chile, he was like launching Balam magazine. He asked me for help for like the branding of it. And so I started working a little bit on that at the distance. And then the both of us were in a crisis and we went back to Buenos Aires. And that's when we literally said, I remember this, I will never forget this. Okay, let's make this happen. Let's make this magazine happen in a physical format, because so far it has been like digital formats, and Luis has done already like some photography exhibitions in Chile, in Brazil, but like we were literally like a little bit lost in life, and we were like, let's use this project to fuel us. And that was my first experience
Amazing.
working within an editorial. Yeah. Again,
Wow.
photography magazine. Photography is still there, very relevant. You know, contemporary photography magazine. We would do open calls. We would call upon photographers that wanted to reach out to us and be like, I would love to be in your magazine. But also we were extending invitations to certain photographers that we would love to have in the magazine. And that's when we started working this together with another Taurus creature. It was the three of us. So I was like working a lot to save money once again in the same leather factory, to save money to go back to London. And he was like working nonstop, holidays, everything, like from Monday to Saturdays, working and then just working on the magazine and like that. And that was the first time I actually experienced applying to grants for governmental funds so we could make this magazine happen in the physicality. And that was my first experience. We won it. Long story short, we won that grant. these
And
magazines
this was
still
in
exist.
Buenos Aires, and you printed it.
Yeah,
The first ever printed issue was in Buenos Aires. Is that
yeah,
correct? Oh wow, so
yeah,
special.
100%. It's still printed in Buenos Aires
Wow.
till the day. I stopped collaborating with them once I was in London. At some point, something a little bit tragical happened there. Before the launch of the magazine, my friend Luis's dad died. And so that
Oh
was a very significant moment. Like he had to go all the way back to Honduras. Like he had a team already working for Balam. It was a little bit chaotic, and I really wanted to be there for him and for the project that meant so much to me. And literally is one of the projects that saved my life.
yeah,
And I went back to Buenos Aires for 2 months and helped.
it's
The launch already
beautiful.
happened, but I was helping to kind of get things organized, leave a lot of what I was doing because I felt like I couldn't really commit at the distance so much, reorganize the whole team. This was when I realized for the first time ever that I'm really good at team dynamics and organizing teams and putting people together and filtering who is an ideal person and who is just wanting to write these on their CVs and that's it.
Yes,
And so there's a lot of that. And so
there's a
we
lot of that.
restructured the whole thing. Yeah. We restructured the whole thing. And at that point, it was also we were birthing Feria Migra, which is an independent art book fair. So a
Uh-huh.
lot of different publications, like art publications that also wanted to have a specific moment to showcase their work, like in Buenos Aires at that point. And I would dare to say in Latin America, there was not a lot of these really cool art book fairs for independent art book fairs. It was not happening. It was all a little bit trashy to my taste. I don't mean to offend anyone, but it was just not my vibe, what was existing
Yeah.
right there. And then so we started collaborating into bringing this to birth. So I was there. I was lucky to be there for the first two Feria Migras, helping to organize those. And nowadays it's an amazing fair. Like Balam even, he was bought by the MoMA
Wow.
for their collection. So it's the MoMA has their own collection, all of the Balams. Luis is
This
such
is
an inspiration.
incredible. This is
Yeah.
incredible.
I feel
Wow.
really lucky that I was able to be there for the start of it all and the
Yes.
foundations of it all. I'm so proud of where he's at, my friend Luis, and Ari,
Yes. Shout
his
out to
partner, that
Luis
he's also a
and
big
Ari.
collaborator there. Yeah.
Wow. And to you, I mean, it takes a team to make a dream, honestly.
For
So
sure, but
well
I mean, I
done.
was there for the start, and
Yeah.
then they continued and they developed into something incredible, which I always knew they could do. Anyways, and then I went back to London, and
Yeah.
so I relieved all of that part, and that's when I started to get a little bit into the hamster wheel of London. Even though my only moments of actually feeling more like myself were with psychedelic parties, hi-fi psychedelic parties. That's what truly saved me from being in London. Just taking
So
some
it's
LSD once a month.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so
Yeah.
you were working kind of like a more of a traditional work job in what, marketing or something like this? What were you doing?
Nothing was truly
Or
traditional in my life in London, to be honest. Because I was working first, with organizing and producing events for this place that doesn't even exist anymore. They were wanting to create really cool parties and experiences for people to get to know them. It was a venue in Hackney
ah,
Wick.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
So I started there and paired up with two other friends, another Capricorn, Steffi, my other Steffi Panizza. Shout out to
Yes.
Steffi. So she was producing events. She used to have this studio with her ex called Studio Cascabel, and I
Uh-huh.
partnered with them to kind of bring to birth these sort of events. We only got to produce one because these people didn't really understand the value that we were providing. We were even grabbing this guy from Portishead, doing the whole DJ set. It was just this amazing
Oh,
party.
wow.
These people, they were only renting the space and they were trying to create something with that space. And we even invited the owner of the space. And the
Yeah.
owner of the space was so happy about what we were doing. And they couldn't even see that, So it was all these
Oh.
frustrations, trials, tribulations. I would say I was also working part-time at Aesop, the skincare brand
Oh,
that I
yeah, I
love
love
so
this thing.
much.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, all their shops. I'm not actually so
I
fond
love.
about their ingredient list because I'm allergic to a lot of them, but I do like the vibe. I like the whole thing. And it's actually, I'm living in Melbourne right now and it's from Melbourne. The owner is from Melbourne. It
Yeah.
started
I
here.
mean, it has a
Yeah.
Greek
Yeah.
name, but it's
Yeah.
Australian
I think he's
origin.
Greek ascendant, I'm pretty sure. Like
Yeah,
he has Greek
but
roots.
But there's
think,
no Aesop in Athens. Can you explain this to me? Anyways, just
yeah, that
not to
makes no
go.
sense. What the heck? Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
So you're working for Aesop and you were doing kind of like a really cool event stuff, but then you are starting together with, who is it? Mika? No, who is it? You're
Okay, yeah.
starting.
So
You're starting this radio show. Like, come on, tell us about the radio show now.
so
This is
in
on the
parallel of
side
like
as well.
getting,
Yeah,
yeah, like getting into
you're
all of
joking.
the she's just an attention whore, pobrecita. So in parallel with doing like all of this like hustle work, like doing so many different jobs at the same time, like freelancing here, there, like working part-time in Isabela, the only thing that really kept me going and feeling like I was still a human being and not a battery to like a machine, a capitalist machine, was
Yeah.
these hi-fi parties. It was like
Uh-huh.
these amazing parties that were like really warm in nature. It was not this like harsh club environment at all.
Yeah.
And the music was always like this amazing world music, very out of the box music, weird things, not necessarily your dance floor just to dance,
To
but
dance?
more like just to feel. Yeah, to
Mm.
dance, but to feel. It was just this like thing. We would all take like LSD, well, the ones that we knew. We would take LSD and we would literally go there. It felt like a spaceship, this quadraphonic hi-fi sound system, all analog, pure vinyls, records, and
Wow.
insane selection of music. And that's when I got to fall in love with music again, because it was
Yes.
really making me feel the music again. And imagine that after having to do with all of the bands, I mean, it was not just the girls. I had also other projects going on right now, but like at some point I was just like approaching music from this perspective of like, okay, and what are they using there? And what are they recording there? What is this filter? What is this like pedal here? Everything was just like analyzed in that point.
Yes.
And then London with these parties just gave me all of this like coming to like music from like the place of feeling it again.
Yeah.
It was just the most magical thing, and I owe London to that. And this was like the
And
parties of like
psychedelics, I think.
100%, but it's all
It
interconnected,
does help. Yeah,
so
it's all interconnected.
Beauty and the Beat parties. If you don't know this, go to Mixcloud, put Beauty and the Beat, and you will see
We
they
can link this
record
as
all
well. Oh
of
my God.
they record all of their parties. So it's like a 6-7 hour like mixes that you can just play in your home, and you're going to have like the
Oh,
most
I love
delicious
this.
music. There's also Brilliant Corners, which is like this other hi-fi. It's a restaurant, but they also on the weekends, they after 10 they move the tables and they create this dance floor, and it become this like beautiful
Oh, I
thing.
love that. That's
Also
so cool.
for the friends, they would do lock-ins
Yes.
after a certain hour. Like we would all pretend like, okay, it's closing, we're all going. But then we would just like stay there to like whatever time listening to music. Like we couldn't stop. Because also like these sound systems, I mean, I'm telling you, it's just it's just something
Out of
else.
this world,
And
so clean, right? Yeah.
yeah, like you could touch the music. I mean, yes, we were taking psychedelics, but not always. And so the thing of like touching the music is so pure, like it would happen all the time. Anyways, so in all of these background story, like I met amazing creatures like Mika, who is my cosmic wife. She's like one of my best, dearest friends. And with her, we started our own radio show, because we were like really into this whole like, okay, let's select the music, let's create journeys, let's start open dialogues with these journeys. Let's see what comes up, right? And so there was this
Yeah.
community radio called Netil Radio, um, and in Broadway Market in London, East London. So for us, this was like the place, to birth this project. They invited us to do this. We were like, yeah, this is fun. Let's finally have like
Yeah.
a space for us to do this. And we started this kind of like women collective, women in music,
Mm-hmm.
or that appreciated music a lot. Um, in this sense, right? In this like very like from the gut, we would meet, we would also start creating events. These guys from like Brilliant Corners, they really helped us. They opened, like spaces for us to have our own little events. where we would bring crystals, cacao, like, incenses. We would, welcome people with cacao when they first arrived, and we would have this amazing sound system where we would play records. And it was like
Oh,
that
wow.
sort of experience. Yeah, like blessing the whole
Very
place. Like
beautiful
also,
experience. I think people weren't really used to that, especially out in London at that time. I feel like that would have been a
yeah,
whole other vibe, right? You're like, ish cacao.
100%.
And they're like, what?
100%. It was totally weird, at that time. But also some other people would get it. And I want to mention Paul Valls.
Uh-huh.
Paul Valls.
Who is this man?
You people. Like he's my musical guru, let's say, like I don't even
Okay.
want to name him like that because it sounds so cringy because he's so not that, you know what I mean? But he is so that. Like it's just so crazy.
I hope you send this to him later so he can watch this.
For sure, for sure. He is a person that I met in all of this madness of like the hi-fi and music and he's an amazing collector, record collector, music collector, incredible taste. He's my favorite DJ in the world. He doesn't really DJ unless he feels like he has, okay, finally I have something to share with the world, like until he doesn't have that, he's not going to DJ. And also he won't DJ just for anyone or just anywhere. It has to be like very specific, intimate places where we can exchange this in this format. So it's not just in any club or whatever. He's not your regular DJ. That's what I'm trying to say.
I love the sound of this. It sounds like somebody who has a lot of integrity. Well, this is our people, so I'm very looking forward. Does he have music somewhere online that people can listen to his like recordings?
Yes, he has some mixes. Yeah. He has some mixes in Mixcloud. Paul Valls.
And link it.
He's from Barcelona, so it's Paul Valls. Paul.
Yes. So
again, this I laughed so much. I had an amazing time. I saw Mika in the first thing that appeared there was Mika. So Middle Pillar Sounds was born.
Middle Pillars was the name of the radio show, yes. And you were playing it live in the radio station once a month? Is that right?
Once a month. Yeah.
Once a month.
So
okay, nice.
We would have this routine, we would meet up before the radio show to kind of like listen to our records and see like which ones we were thinking about playing in what kind of order, what was the journey. And then the next morning we would go to this record shop that's called Low Company. It doesn't exist anymore like in the physicality, but it still exists online. And it was such a beautiful little shop where they had like all of this experimental music that I really enjoyed digging. And the guy at some point, he already understood our taste. So he would like start recommending things, and not a lot of people were there. And I think that's why mainly like they have closed, I think. But like we would have all of that time. Like we would go there for like an hour and we could listen to like 20 records, one after the other, and just cry, laugh, whatever. It was just this full on moment. And if anything there was calling, oh my gosh, we need to play this, then we would buy the record and bring it with our other records that we were planning to play on the radio show, and then go to the radio station and just play this. This was beautiful. Like the whole journey that we did there. At some point then I decided that I needed to move out of London. I wanted to experience living somewhere else that was not a big city. I really wanted that. And honestly, that's when, like, at some point, a friend of us, Mili, she was taking care of that, of the radio show over there, because also Mika left at some point. Then Miro from Netil Radio, he was like, guys, like, I want only live mixes happening for this radio. That's our vision for the radio. So we said like, okay, fair enough. The thing is, we don't really, like, we want to keep on doing mixes, and send them over. For me, this is like the opportunity. It's Middle Pillar Sounds is just the excuse to keep on connecting with people through music and getting to know people through music and open that dialogue. So I really wanted to be a part of that dialogue. And we said like, okay, maybe it's time to move on. And Mili, you can definitely take that slot. Like, I think you would love that at this point. And that's when we reached out to Dublab to see if they wanted to have our radio show in their Dublab LA, right? In their radio station.
Dublab LA, yes, which is a super cool radio station. And so you moved to like a digital space, so to speak, and then you kept on going with Middle Pillars, and you have been inviting guests from all around the world, and you have been categorizing them into astrological seasons. Am I right?
Yeah.
as I have been
Yeah,
a
yeah.
guest myself, and I absolutely love that. And I also listen to Middle Pillars, and I just have to say also, in terms of the branding, I just love the look of it. I love the website. I think anyone who's listened to this, who are into branding and graphic and music, of course, you're gonna love
Yeah.
this. We're gonna link it in the show notes, and it's still going. Am I right? You haven't stopped
Yeah,
this.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
no, we have
it's
the thing is we kind of paused the whole Instagram posting and things like that because we were like full on with other things in life. I mean, we're doing this from like the bottom of our heart, so we just put the
yeah,
energy whenever there's energy available. But definitely it's still going. We're still doing the mixes. We're still inviting people to do mixes. For me, that's the
yeah,
most fun, and that's not gonna stop anytime
yeah.
soon, you know?
Good, because I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. And I'm so excited for more people to hear it. And I think for people like myself who also love to find music that are not what's showing up on my feed all the time on my
Yeah.
apps. So I feel like Middle Pillar is one of those places where you have weaved in so many different perspectives of music, meaning that it is a full embodiment of life, and it gives such a different outlook. And I would say that's the fastest way for me personally to change my energy is to put on music that are shifting it.
Yes.
And it just invites so many new thoughts and ideas. And I get very creative listening to these mixes. And so I'd highly recommend anyone listening to this, if you haven't listened to Pillars, as it's for free, it's online, they have a beautiful website. Jump on there, have a look, have a listen, and you will see so much more as well, because there is also writing about the seasons. It's writing about the person who's sharing the mixes, and you can find my mixes on there. Not that they're actually the best. I'd say there's a lot of music that is a lot better,
No,
but
they're
I loved
amazing.
it. I absolutely loved being part of it, just from a perspective of embodying something else within me as well. And it was a beautiful experience to collaborate with you on that and have you support on that, as I'm not a musician, and I was learning about it all at the same time as I was making it. But also,
Yeah.
so Middle Pillar is going. And then if you're going to move forward a little bit into your life, so you moved to Mexico, this kind of when you were doing this remote as well. COVID happens, Mexico, Tulum. It becomes from like a roller coaster Tivoli vibe, I should call it, to really calm and tranquil and
Yeah.
authentic. So Tulum was a very beautiful place. I was there. That's how me and Julie knows each other. We met in Tulum. We didn't wear shoes.
Yeah.
We didn't wear clothes. We were like on the beach, not really knowing left or right in a good way, because the rest of the world had
Yeah.
just gone crazy. And we happened to just find ourselves in this sort of more calm space, I would say, with authentic people. And a lot of the
Yeah.
things that are going on in Tulum right now that came back, unfortunately, as the lockdown eased and disappeared. Tulum is a circus again now, but it wasn't for that period of time. There was a moment in time where we got to feel what it meant to be with the Mayans, right? In the Yucatan
Yeah.
area, like we were immersed in their spirit. And there was the temazcals, and there was the cacao, and there was the sound journeys that were incredible. And there was a few other artists, I would say, that I was like just so appreciative to have experienced. And you were there, and you were
Yeah.
taking care of Ikal. And Ikal is this beautiful hotel that is designed sustainably on the beach in the
Yeah.
national park, or in the national, what's it called? Yeah, national park, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Of Tulum. And it was definitely the least pretentious place in the best ways. And it was doing
Yeah.
events and music. I had my first birthday in Mexico ever there, actually. I was holding it at a cow.
Oh,
Yeah. And we did like this live
babe.
painting with this friend, Cadence, that's from New York. She was helping me to paint. And we had Amada, I don't know what his DJ name is now. He was playing, and you were working at the time, but we had just got to know each other. Yeah. And so tell us, so you had this experience of Mexico for a while. You're still living in Mexico, but you're on your way out of Mexico to other places soon. We have a little brief moment left of the podcast. So give us a quick rundown of that experience, please.
Yes, 100%. So, yeah, I got to actually experience this really cool Tulum side, you know, like, or side of Tulum that was not what I first encountered when I first arrived there. It got me to the point of meeting really cool people, you know, like you included Jimena in Ical, you know, Ernesto in
Mm,
Ical, Meli in Ical, like all of these people. And so we were putting a lot of energy and love to Ical to really bring it like birthed it from a place of like, okay, it's not about the heavy parties. It's not about, like just going nuts. It's more about, like building a space for community. And we were really focused on community. It was really beautiful. And we were calling a lot of like elders, abuelitas, abuelitos from different parts of Mexico
Yes.
to host and share their medicine. And with him, we would have this thing of like another day, another ceremony. That was like our phrase, because we were literally hosting ceremonies all the time. I would be the translator most of the times, like that's where I really discovered that I was really fast and quick in translating from
Yes.
Spanish, to English. Yeah, so it was a very beautiful part of my life. And then, it just started to be a little bit back into what it was before, and I just started to feel a little bit disconnected. I was already helping with some of the events to raise funds for some NGOs of Yucatan and Quintana Roo. And then I started feeling like I want to experience what it is like to actually like support, these type of NGOs like human rights centers. I decided to leave Tulum. I had only 7,000 pesos in my pockets
Wow,
and a
that's not a lot.
dog.
Yeah, and
And a dog now that I adopted. It was nothing. And I was just like, I'm just going to go with my gut. And I ended up here in San Cristobal. I mean, I was trying to get to Oaxaca, but I never made it because I ended up like coming here and just feeling it in my
It's
whole
so
body. Like, okay,
beautiful where you are now.
I just, I need to figure this out. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to see how this can work. And then Hime contacted me with this other lady that had this like human rights center kind of, like NGO. So I started working there. Then that's where I actually met Anita, who is like my Mexican mom that I love so much. And she was the one like guarding me so much through all of that process. Me coming here to San Cristobal in the mountains of Mexico, experiencing like after the beach life, like the mountain life. And she was
with
the one helping me a
incredible
lot.
water sources like waterfalls. It is absolutely
It's
divine where
magical.
you're living. It is just, it's lush. The word lush, I think, is the best way to describe it. It's so lush.
Yeah. It got me some time. It took me some time to actually like be able to embrace what was going on, because like literally I just immediately stepped into what I wanted, which was like human rights, helping with the fundings, campaign, one of these things. I started working at Fraiba, which is like a very renowned like NGO here for human rights, specifically, in defense of the human rights of the indigenous communities around here. Mayan communities. But then it was a lot for me, honestly. It was a heavy thing to admit for me, that I'm always trying to put like the extra effort and it was a lot. I don't know how these people do it. It's really heavy. And so that's when I was a little bit kind of lost again. Okay, and now what? And at that point I met Ben Weir. Shout out to Ben Weir, this Canadian entrepreneur, business owner, amazing manifestor. He created this big impact for me, and he opened up so much to the point of like birthing my consultancy thanks to his guidance and pushes. I have a lot to thank to this manifestor in my life. So again, shout out to Ben Weir. And this is where I'm at right now. I'm in this point of life where I'm like developing deeper and deeper this consultancy, doing recruitment, team dynamics, as you know already, like my first experience with Balam, realizing I'm good at that. Just doing some coachings for amazing
Can you
creatives
tell
that
us
have...
tell us about the company that you birthed, so people can
Yeah.
find you and find out what you do. What is it about?
Zeptepi Consulting, it's basically about creating a safe space for all of these creatives that have also this entrepreneurial spirit, and helping them ground with strategies. This could be like tech marketing strategies. This could be like strategic recruitment. This could be, like team dynamics. This could be just like, helping you administrate your time better so that then you can focus on your zone of genius. Like finding out what your zone of genius is at, what is it, and using like amazing tools like human design, as we've already been speaking so much about that. Human design, gene keys, astrology, but also other personality tests that are more like not so out of the box tools, but they are also very efficient. And just, helping them be in authenticity. I feel like that's the biggest shift that we're, going through right now. Just living in authenticity, bringing to life what really like you feel you want to experience in your life, like having the space to create, but from a place where like you're connected with like all of your beautiful imaginary world, and you're grounding it here in this dimension, which I feel it's the most important part. If not, I'm not the person for you. If you only want to get into the Lulu, like, I'm sorry, but I'm not. But definitely, you know, like this is what I love to do, and this is the space that I created in order to do that, and to have that excuse to collaborate with amazing creatives, and to help certain businesses that are like so much in alignment with my core values, which I think it's very rare to find, to be honest. And like try to help them create amazing team dynamics, groups, recruitments, you name it. So this is why I birthed this, and this is where
I
we're going
love
right now.
this.
Like,
And we're gonna link this in the show notes. It's actually an amazing company, and I would say it's a very new perspective of how to run. Like, would you call it a recruitment agency? But it's just so much more. Like, would that be the right word?
yeah, I mean,
Or
I call it consulting because in the end,
consulting?
like
Yeah,
you come to me to consult. Sometimes I've had experienced clients coming to me for recruitment. So I'm like, are you sure you need a recruitment for that? Maybe what you need is just like a AI automation system. I try to already give value from like the first discovery call so that the people can, you know, whether we continue or not, like I already like maybe gave you that space and maybe gave you the piece of information you needed so you can prosper. That's all that matters truly for me. You know, if like you're really seeing things like I am seeing, we want to birth this like new paradigm in business, then 100%, like, please, like if I can give you value already, like there you have it, you know, like.
I mean, you have so, it's like you've lived so many lives already, and now you put all of that knowledge into this one amazing business. And I think a lot of people would really benefit from finding out a little bit more about themselves as well, because I know that authenticity really comes down to knowing yourself, and that is removing a lot of these layers that we have on top of ourselves. And so Julie is also amazing for that. She also guides people through more of a, like, do you still do this? Because you used to do them, and I had the pleasure of also working with you on these things, like more one-on-one coaching and kind of discovering who I am and what I'm really, you know, the essence of me. And so I'd also want to give you a shout out for that. Like, contact Julie if you're interested in this, if you're interested in someone supporting you in many layers of life. And I think that's a really cool opportunity. And I also have to say again, just like Middle Pit, I love your website for Septepi. I think it's super cool. It's very immersive. It is, the graphic is like moving, it's animated. It is bold in many ways. It is your language. And I love that I see the authenticity of Julie in that company, in that branding. So I also want to give a shout out for that, because I love that. It's a really important part of what I do every day. It's to just enjoy people's branding. Like, it's their voice, it's their you know, shop front or whatever you call it. So it's a really important thing for me.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm a visual person myself too.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see that, and you're really good at it. And I want to just also, if you wanted to, you know, we have a lot of amazing shares in this podcast for people to listen to music, to look up your companies, to follow these other people and so on. If there was any book, any film, any other musical thing that you'd want to share for people to feel inspired, is there anything that comes to your mind?
Okay, so if you're a creative, I would definitely recommend Rick Rubin's book, because that one like really takes you into your authentic, you know, spot.
Yes.
Especially if you're someone that, you know, you're a visual person, you're an aesthetic person, but like at the same time you care so much about what other people think. It's really a book to go back to you, you know, and to really like do this because you love it, and then the right people will appreciate it, and then the rest, it doesn't matter. I would say that's a book that's really cool to take a look
I
at
love
if
Rick
you're, you
Rubin.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
a good
mean,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would say there's also these really cool books. So if you're really into economics and you're really into quantum economics, like I definitely, David Orell, this one is really cool. The New Science of Money.
Wow, amazing. Quantum
And
economics.
there's also this one that was gifted by a friend, and it's a very Capricorn sort of book. It's called Sacred Commerce. Business is a Path of Awakening. I don't know if you
I
can, like
love
Matthew
this.
and
Yeah, I can
Teresa
see it.
Engelhardt. Okay,
Okay,
so
perfect.
these
Thank you.
two, if you're really into, you know, like conscious business sort of, and also like detangling certain things about money, but in a very scientific way, like we're talking quantum, we're talking spiritual, we're talking energy, but we're talking science all at the same
Yes.
time. This book is like, it just opens
Amazing.
your whole your whole brain. Also, if you want to deprogram yourself a little bit more as well, there's the Richest Man in Babylon. I
Oh, I
honestly
haven't read
have
this
so
one.
many,
We
like
can link.
by
We link. Well,
Georges Martin.
let's link some books in the
Yeah,
show notes for people because I just love this. It's so good. We've come to the end of the podcast. It's been an amazing
yeah,
journey to hear about all the discoveries that you made through your trials and error, as all us projectors in life are having. I know for a fact that you're actually moving again. This time towards the European continent. And I think for
yeah.
anyone who starts following Julie on social media, writes to her, connect with her on anything that you're interested in. If you are going to be in the European continent, you might actually be able to catch her in person. So more for that, I hope to have you again on the
Yeah.
podcast once we see what unfolds in the future. It's been a pleasure to have you, Julie. You're an amazing,
Thank
amazing soul.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my love. My pleasure.
So that was Julie Ruiz, a conversation about resonance, alignment, and the invisible architecture that shapes how we create, lead, and connect. If you'd like to explore more of the things that Julie is working on and creating, have a look at Middle Pillar Sound, her sonic project with Mika Lamdan, and her beautiful company called Sep Tepi Consulting, where she guides creatives and founders in building coherence and building with intention. You find her Instagram on Middle Pillar Sound and Septepi Consulting. We're going to link it in the show notes for you. If you'd like to stay connected in the future, as we release this episode once a month, you can join the newsletter on sublimestudios.eu, Sublime's own sign up. I'm Steffi Strom, and this is Friends of Sublime, a space for creative souls, quiet disruptors, and those who build with awareness. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode.